Don't forget to do three things: subscribe, like, and share.
What's going on, y'all? This is Nick from On the Block with Nick, a podcast designed to inspire, educate, and inform somebody somewhere around the world. Today on the block, we got a well-known guest, a friend of the show, Ollie. Um, he's gonna really talk about a real deep topic within the Black community. And I hope you guys enjoy it. And I know you will get a lot out of this conversation. What's going on, Ollie?
Going on, Nick? How you? Glad to be here.
Um, I appreciate you coming on, man. How you been?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed. Can't complain. Enjoying a little vacation. Take some time out to get with you on your podcast.
Yeah, definitely appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it. So, Ed Reed, um, everybody should know what's going on with Ed Reed, right? He took the job. Well, he didn't actually officially take the job. He was under contract negotiation with Bethune Cookman, trying to become the head coach for that school. So I don't know what happened, but something went viral, and he was on really saying some things about the school and wasn't really too pleased about some of the things he saw. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I've read some dialogue on what actually happened between the administration and Ed, and um, I think Ed was blinded by some of the issues that were unforeseen to him getting in position to take the job there. I know the administration had went through a couple of hurricanes, and things weren't in depth to where they were um, finished cleaning up. There's a lot of things going on, infrastructure issues, students being displaced, and I don't think Ed Reed really got the understanding of what he was getting into. Moving there and starting to generate, relationships with the kids. I think a lot of the things that he didn't know came to the forefront. And Ed Reed has always been a passionate person, passionate about what he played the game, passionate about what he did. So I think that kind of it went viral when he was on the golf cart. He was riding through talking about some of the things that was going on, and I think it was just a misunderstanding between the administration and Ed at that time. Then from there, you know how the media does. The media just blew it up, and it just went from there. So I don't think he had any malice in what he was saying. I think he was just being up up front with the situation that he was getting ready to take over.
Okay. So, do you really think he should have went viral, or do you think he should have just went straight to the administration and kind of discuss those things?
Uh, I mean, when you're passionate about things, sometimes you don't think about it. You just react. And I think a lot of it spilled over from the 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 conversations that he had with Dion before Dion left. And I think it was at a point where it should have been heard over all HBCUs. Yeah, he should have talked to the administration and let them know this how I feel about it. But you can never tell how a person feels when they're in the heat of a moment. So it could have been handled. I think it could have been handled differently on both ways, but I don't want to say who's at fault or who's to blame. But there's a lot of things that people don't understand. HBCUs go through and trying to govern and put kids out, to be successful in the world.
Definitely, definitely. And you are a graduate of a HBCU, correct?
Correct. I am. I'm a graduate of Winston State University in Winston, North Carolina. My wife is a graduate from Winston State as well. My son Jalen is a graduate as well, and I have a son Trey, who actually goes to John C. Smith. So we're HBCU family, and it's really put me in position to do some things in life that I didn't think I would be able to do. You know, to me, HBCU is about survival because we're not accustomed to the things that PWIs have, or you know, other institutions. Um, so it's really you really have to want to be at a HBCU and to be successful. It's not something that that just comes overnight. It has to be a drive to want to go there and to continue to go through some of the things that we went through, in gaining a degree from HBCU.
Okay. So I want to go back to Ed Reed and Bethune Cookman real quick. So
Hmm.
um he kind of alluded to the I guess the administration. I don't want to say being dirty, but I'll say mismanaging a lot of things or something to that degree. What are your
Right.
thoughts on that?
Um, it depends on what you consider mismanagement. Um, funds are disproportionate towards what the need is at most HBCUs. I understand that a lot of HBCU sports at Bethune Cookman were continuing on, and a lot of the kids were displaced in different places as their season went. Some basketball players had to stay here, and a lot of things had to come out of pocket that the actual administration couldn't pay for. So I couldn't really say it was a mismanagement of funds because me myself, I really don't know all the details. But when you go into a situation like that and you're going to be a head coach, pretty sure the first thing you look at is your budget, okay, and see what you got to work with. You know, looking at ticket sales and things of that nature that really bring you the revenue into, HBCU, you probably want to question some things. And on an administration side, there's a lot of things they have to pay and to take care of to keep the organization going. So I mean, it's really a catch 22, because you really don't know, and then you do know, but you don't want to. You want to. It's a fine line between it. It's really confusing. But at the end of the day, it's about the kids, and I think that's the part that was missing.
Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that. So, do you think they should have worked it out for the kids?
I think there should have been a. I think Ed Reed had the right idea. I think the administration of Ed Reed should have sat down after this all came out and came to a terms on how they were going to proceed moving forward. I don't think they should have moved away from Ed Reed because he was being honest and truthful in what he was saying. I think they just should have been a better relationship before they just ended it all together.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think they kind of saw Ed Reed and was like, okay, it's a big name. We can probably, bring a lot of sponsorships and all this other stuff without actually building a relationship with Ed Reed and
Right.
understanding and knowing who the individual is. I
Hmm.
think that
And
was
see
in.
what,
Go ahead.
and that was one of the things that Dion did. He did a lot of things out of his pocket prior to administration really knowing it and getting things developed. I don't think Ed Reed ever got an opportunity to do so. And we don't know we don't know all what was wrong with Bethune. We just know what was brought about at that point.
Yeah, true, true, true. So, from your experience, going into a HBCU, what are some of the things, as a parent that you've seen and as a student that you think needs to be changed?
Well, um, for one, the communication between the household and admissions needs to be a little bit better. I understand the colleges want to get people there, but they still need to let the families know what they're up against when you get there. For instance, being a scholarship player going to Winston in 1995, I had to sit out my first year in '96. It was the first year I was eligible to play because I was a Proposition 48. However, at the end of the day, all my books were paid. Well, my tuition was paid for a room and board, but there was an issue with books. Um, Part of our scholarship would allow us to be able to buy our books, but that wasn't, denoted to our parents before we got there. So we in line to get our books. We think we got a book voucher. We don't have a book voucher. So now where did this money come for us to get our books to go to class? We had to come out of our pocket. So a lot of those things weren't told to the parents, so the parents a lot of were blinded going into the situation. You know, didn't understand how certain scholarships were. Being if you were in state or out of state, in state, most of our scholarships were split. And that's some of the issues that these HBCUs have, the amount of scholarships they have to get those kids in there. Um, Now that my sons both went there, some of the same issues 20 years later, still with the
Mm.
issues with, the communication. Um, and I think it's just a matter of a survival tactic that they've been inept to for so long that this is what has worked for them. And without parents like myself or other parents who step in who are alumni and try to get to the bottom of these issues, those issues are still going to be there. So it's going to take a lot from the alumni and the active administration to come to grounds where we can communicate about the issues that truly affect the students.
That's a really good point you bring up, and I'm glad you highlighted that. Because a lot of people do say the alumni um are not doing certain things as far as I guess supporting the HBCUs.
Hmm.
Uh, and they say that PWIs do a better job at it. Um, my question is this though: what do you think is the cause or the reasoning for black alumni not contributing to HBCUs? Do you think it's because of the pay gap between the PWIs, or the HBCUs getting good jobs and student loans, etc.?
I truly think that what you said made a lot of sense right then. My job that I have opposed to someone's job at a PWI is totally different. You know, what I have to take care of, student loans, whatever else I needed in college to pay for. Now that I have this job, that's what I'm paying for. Okay. Then we get out of these schools, we take on relations, we take on family, and we take on other things, and a lot of our money is tied to where we can't put back into HBCU. That's mass majority, the vast majority. Not saying everyone, okay? Um, PWI is totally different. A lot of them, when they graduate, they're debt free. When they're debt free, they're able to give back abundance of things at a time. So yes, I think the career fields that students who graduate from HBCUs, which I think has gotten better over time. Um, it plays a big part in them being able to give back as they need. And then there's a trust. There's a trust issue too, because when we do give back this money and we go back to our respective universities and we don't see the things that the money is supposed to have taken care of, then it leads you to think, well, should I really contribute back? Is the administration there going to be, truthful in putting the money towards the things that we need done? So I think a lot of it has to be, career wise, what he's done after, graduating for HBCU, the money that we make, and also it's a trust issue.
Mm, that's a good point. That's a good point. I've
Yeah.
heard that a lot as well. I heard that a lot as well. A trust issue between, you know, I guess the alumni administration, and
Hmm.
that's big. That's big.
It's big.
So so how do you think it can get resolved though?
I mean, there has to be more attention to it, given to it. And attention can't come when you get a big name like Ed Reed blowing up. Okay, there has to be some type of value in it, some value added to the process itself. Exiting college, entering college. Those are the things that need to be, assessed and built upon. What are we going to do when we enter? How are we going to move the student forward? Once we exit, what are we going to do to get this person equipped to handle the things they need in life? Okay, so there needs to be some communication between administration and alumni association. They have to bridge the gap, and I think that's the biggest issue. No one's bridging the gap and talking about the issues like you are doing. These are issues that need to be talked about for people, you know, that are actually engaged in it. I know you went to HBC yourself, so we all know well how it goes. But until someone really wants to bring it to the forefront and address these issues, it's gonna be a recurring circle. We understand it. We understand what the issue is, but we do things to get around it, you know. But we never fix the issue, and that's where the problem lies. What are we doing to fix the issue? No one's fixing the issue.
Hmm. Hmm. So I have to ask this question. I know my daughter, she goes to Winston Salem as well. Um,
Okay,
so
great school.
yeah, great school, great school. My question is, knowing all this, that we've discussed, right? What made you still say, "Hey, I want my kids to attend HBCU"?
Well, it was never my choice. Okay, my son Jalen um, he first started Appalachian State. Uh, he didn't like the school, so he wanted to transfer. I preferred that he stay and play one more year, then transfer after he got his grad degree or whatever, but he chose not to. So in picking a school, he felt comfortable with Winston State because he grew up in Winston State. When he
Mhm.
came when his mom came to school, he was 7 months. So our duration at Winston, he was always at Winston. So he understood the Winston and relationships there. Trey, my second son, he played quarterback. So in him picking the school he wanted to go to, my college football coach, Coach Blunt, was the head coach of John C. Smith. Coach Blunt was a quarterback. So we chose to go there because we wanted the relationship quarterback coach relationship. Um, Even with them going to HBCUs, I'm in a better place where I can handle some of the financial issues that they have opposed to how it was back in my day when my mom and dad couldn't. So, and I knew going to HBCU, they were going to know more. They were going to be social. They were going to know how to survive. They were going to be able to see people from all walks of life who were there trying to gain the same goal as them. And I knew that helped them more in life than anything else. So I wasn't against them going to HBCU. My 15-year-old now talks about HBCUs all the time. Taking them to the games, letting them see the atmosphere. I think it's a great culture. It's just that it just needs to be tidied up a little bit. So I'm not opposed to anyone going to HBCU. I think there's more work to be done to get us back to where we need to be, and I think it can be done. As long as we continue to draw attention to it as you're doing yourself.
I agree. I agree.
Hmm.
So I think one of my, I guess, heartburns about the Ed Reed and the Deion Sanders backlash and all of that. Um, I saw a lot of, I guess, negative comments towards HBCUs by, the black community. Um, they was really not really feeling HBCUs, and they didn't really understand, and they just said certain things, and I just couldn't really work with that. So my question is, how do we, I guess, connect with the youth that are disconnected with HBCUs and the culture?
The connection has to come from someone who actually went to HBCU. See, a lot of these people who were complaining and talking, smack about HBCU, never went to HBCU.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
in order for you to understand the experience and teach the experience, you got to go through the experience. And if you never went through the HBCU experience, what do you know about it? See what I'm saying? You gotta understand what it means to sleep in a dorm that's hot, no air conditioning. You see what I'm saying? Go to the cafeteria is closed because there's nowhere to eat else on campus. You got to wait till the next day when it's time for breakfast. You got to go through those things to be able to equip a child who doesn't know anything about it equip them and have them to be prepared to go into that situation. I can't talk to nobody about something I don't know about
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know. And that was one of the things that I had. I had some reservations when Dion left. Because I felt as if he built his brand off the back of the culture of the HBCU, not the fact that Dion wanted to, you know, move on to a better situation, which I feel everyone in their life should do if they feel it's best for them. But don't have the HBCU culture thinking you're there for the culture. I'm here for the culture. If you're here for the culture, you just don't leave after 2 years. Okay,
Yeah.
you ain't even got enough of the culture to understand in 2 years. So in one of his first interviews, he stated he was with Brandon Marshall and another guy on that podcast. He was basically stating that he was there for the culture of the HBCU. I'm here for the culture. I want to move the culture along. Once he got into it, it was more about Jackson State, not HBCU. Okay, Jackson State wasn't the only HBCU. Okay, and so that's what kind of the reservations I had about that situation. I wish Dion the best, so be the best. However, you can't continue to hear what's going on at HBCU from people who don't go to HBCU. Period. You have to go on there. You have to experience something. You know.
Oh, definitely agree. Definitely agree.
Mhm.
Well said. And I felt a certain way when Dion did what he did. Basically for the same, the same things you pointed out, right? Um, and I guess from my view, he had an opportunity to really make history. I mean, set his path in history or mark in history for a cause that was greater than himself. Now,
And
like you
themselves.
said, like you said before, everybody has opportunity to grow, I should say, and I'm not
Mhm.
knocking him for that. I mean, hey, I wish him the best. I hope he does well. It's just, you know, you can feel a certain way and not still feel like you hating on the man. And I think a
Right.
lot of people get confused about that. I'm not hating on him. I'm just disappointed. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Disappointed.
just disappointed. I'm
Because
disappointed.
I knew what his energy could have brought to all other HBCUs, and he could have been the one to set a symposium for the other schools. This is what I did at Jackson State. This is what you should do.
Hmm.
This is how you get your moving along. So I just didn't like the fact that I felt like initially I felt like it was a piggyback for his career. You
Hmm.
know, I couldn't
Hmm.
I couldn't get an FCS school. I couldn't get an FBS school. So I'm gonna go to this D1 HBCU. I'm gonna change it around. Then I'm gonna use that to get where I'm gonna go.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, and that was my whole take on it. But everyone does what they have to do what's best for them. So it is what it is at this point. I think he'll do great at Colorado. He'll do well because who wouldn't want to play for Dion?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's one of the best to ever do it. If you play DV, if you're an athlete, he played football and baseball. He's
Yeah.
one of the ones that play in a World Series and a Super Bowl. So if you're a true athlete, why wouldn't you want to go play for that man?
Yeah. Highly decorated, right? Highly
Highly
decorated,
decorated.
right?
We
I
seen it
mean,
all growing up.
he has the charisma, the charm. I mean, he's definitely a expert recruiter. You've seen that
Hmm.
in him snatching up a lot of recruits
Hmm.
for Jackson State. And speaking of that, I just want to ask what are your thoughts on what happened to him recently? Um, he got a little backlash for, I guess, his criteria for the type of players he recruit.
Uh, I mean, he was blunt honest. He wants a kid, he may have been wrong on how he presented it, but I totally understand what he was saying. You know, um, character starts in the home. Okay, um, most kids who come from two-parent homes are usually mild-mannered kids because they got both parents there. Um, Kids that really don't have, but their mom there, their mom can do all they can do to keep them situated, but they might have a little rough side to them. I don't need a soft defensive lineman. I need a I need a mean defensive lineman. You know what I'm saying? But the flip side to that, I need a quarterback who's going to be well mannered, have charisma, have some character. That's going to be able to lead. Too many people that are aggressive and mean. I mean, they lead in their own way. Okay,
hmm
so
hmm
I need them to lean. I need them that front four. They need to be tough. They need to be mean. So I totally agree with what he was saying. I think his pitch was just wrong, and some just didn't understand what he was saying. I don't think he had any malice in what he was saying. But at the end of the day, you play football. You know how it is. You can't
Yeah,
be soft on that defensive line, that offensive line. You
yeah,
gotta have some
yeah.
little grit to you. You know what I'm saying? It's totally different than a receiver or a running back. So I kind of get what he was saying, but like again, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you've never been in those shoes, you don't really understand. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of the media, once they get that, and I, me being a communication major in school, I get how the media grabs something because it's a hot topic. So we're gonna grab it, we're gonna run with it. And I understand that. But to Dion, I think he's doing a great job in what he's trying to get accomplished. And that's the only way he's gonna do it. That's the only way he's gonna be successful at Colorado. He's gonna have to take the backlash and he's gonna have to be able to do things that wasn't ever done before. And he's proven that because he's already sold 30,000 tickets to the spring game.
Oh my God, it's crazy, man. That's the
It's
Dion effect,
crazy.
right?
You're right. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, earlier, I wish him well. I think he's a great person. He's spiritual driven. He's a great role model. You know what I'm saying? You can look at his boys and tell he's done a great job. So
hmm
can't knock him for what he's doing. Just don't like you doing off the back of the HBCU.
Yeah, yeah. Agree,
That's it.
agree, agree,
Yeah.
agree. So, we about to wrap it up, but before we wrap it up, man,
hmm
do you have anything that you would like to say to the viewers out there right now? Anything inspirational that you would like to say, um, in terms of HBCUs, what you've been through, anything at all?
Um, yeah, I do. HBCU was the highlight of my life because it gave me an opportunity to be where I am today in life. I'm currently a plant manager for Purdue Farms, which has led me to live a good life. If I hadn't gone to a HBCU and understand the survival tactics of falling, uh, going through the pledging process, all those things equip me to be the person that I am today. You know, Lost my wife, we divorced 10 years, we remarried this past year. So my life has been full circle based off the experience I had at a HBCU. And I never want to take that back. Some of the people that I've met, some of my friends, some of the interactions I had over that period of time have really helped me come out of the funk that I was in and be where I am today. So I can't knock a PWI, but I know what HBCU did for me. So that's all I gotta say about that.
I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Well said. And that was well said. Well said. I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people. But
I hope it does, man.
we're gonna wrap it up, man. I mean, we had an awesome conversation. Love the conversation. It was
Hey
great, man.
man,
We gotta do it again.
have me back. Just let me know when you want. I'll be glad to be back.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, we got the block hot and we out.